gosh, if there is the like top episode, if there is like the quote unquote best episode ever of the Socially Delightful podcast, it is this one, y'all. I had my friends on that were available kind of last minute, that were available, and also that felt comfortable, because not everybody felt comfortable, and that's totally fine. But I had some of my friends on the podcast, and I talked to them about lessons that they have learned in friendship. We get real about what it's like to be in friendship with each other. It's been an absolute freaking blast. I'm so excited to share this with you. It's been such an amazing way to close this podcasting chapter. I have loved doing the Socially Delightful podcast. I am so delighted that you have listened and spent time, your precious time on this earth, with me, learning about friendship and becoming like a socially delighted person, a connector. I am so grateful to have been on this journey with you, and I think you are going to learn so freaking much from this episode, even just in hearing my friends describe friendship dynamics. It's going to be so different than from just hearing me talk about it. So I'm so excited to share this episode with you all. And my friends, thank you so much. All of my friends, for loving me, supporting me, for, encouraging me, for being real with me, even in times where it's hard. Thank you. Thank you so freaking much. And thank you for sharing your hearts on this episode as well. Oh my goodness. I'm beaming with delight. I cannot wait for us to jump in. Y'all, I am so excited to have my best friend Kenzie on the freaking Socially Delightful podcast.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Hi.
Hi.
Kenzie and I have been friends for 16 years, 17 years,
16
something like
going
that.
on 17, like the
Wild
song from Sound of Music. Yeah, no, it would then, so in September, it'll be 17 years.
Oh my gosh.
I think, yeah, it'll be 17 years in September. Because we
That's
were
absolutely wild.
actually like it was either before Katie's birthday or before your birthday that I like sat down one night and like
mapped.
out our timeline, mapped it out.
Oh, that's so cute.
I should have kept it. I don't know if I did. Maybe I did. But yeah, so we met in 8th grade, which we would have been 12 and 13. So we would have been 12 when we met, and then 13 by the end of that year or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. So
wild.
Yeah, in September it'll be 17 years. That's crazy.
Wow. That really is crazy. That really is crazy. Oh my goodness. And one thing Kenzie and I were talking about before I hit record is that there's this like cliche or like stereotype that like therapists this is so funny, that therapists or like mental health practitioners, or just really anybody, they're like trying to heal or like learn about like the trauma that they went through as a child or whatever. And I had always been like, no, not me, myself, and Jewel. No, me, myself, and I. No. This is what I do for a living, and I was a lonely and socially anxious child, and that was my biggest pain point in growing up, was that I feel so lonely. Anyway, it reminds me, when we became friends, y'all, Kenzie was a new student, and I went up to her and I went, "Hi, I'm having a sleepover if you want to come." And I just think that's so representative of my lonely ass, because I was like, "Please be my friend, new girl, come over and hang out." And granted, I'm still that way, where I'm like, "Come on, people, everybody's welcome. Let's all get together." Like, Kyle said my catchphrase once is like, you've met this person? Have you met this person? Like, he always makes fun of me because I'm constantly reintroducing him to people.
Yeah,
you're nodding.
I've been there several times. I get introduced to Kyle, and I've known him for almost 10 years now. Yep.
I just gotta make sure everybody's familiar. But anyway, that's so funny thinking about that time, because it's so reflective of me wanting to like be friends and heal that. It was just so funny.
Yeah. Well, who knew?
Yeah.
Like you invited me over, and then you said, I got dropped off, obviously, and you said, make yourself at home. And I took one look at your pantry, and I had never seen anything more beautiful. And I said, you said that anything in here? And you said, yeah, go for it. And I grabbed a jar of frosting.
Uh-huh.
And was like, this, like, I can have this. And yep, just took a spoon right out and started eating it.
So funny.
Yeah,
So
it was
funny.
a good time.
From there on out, we were goofy. We were so silly. I think that's one thing that really bonded us in the very, very beginning. Not that we have all of these beautiful components, like the deepest of family like relationships. I always joke y'all that Mackenzie is my mom's favorite daughter. So like the deepest of familial bond. And I feel like that's one thing that bonded us really quickly is we were really silly in the beginning. But
Like, like what? I think
like
about
day
some of the
one.
things that we did when we were kids. Like, and we obviously documented it. There's photo evidence everywhere. But I think about some of the things that we did when we were kids, and I'm just like,
Oh, I know.
that I don't know that you would pay me enough to do some of the things that we did when we were kids. Like, I remember us choreographing a dance to do like a flash mob with just you and me. Like at the mall or something. Oh my god! Like just the most cringe you could like Cindy Lou Hooing at Walmart on a summer night. Oh my gosh!
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the best. By the way, if anyone wants to copy that look, you put a cup on your head and then you put your hair all around your head, or all around the cup, and it stays there. So if you want to be Cindy, just like us, I love it. I am so curious, my friend. You said you have some points that you wanted to share. Yeah, tell me, what are some lessons that you've learned in friendship?
Lessons in friendship. So like I was saying, it's really hard because, you know, usually you have like Nicki. I know her grandma talks a lot about her, like she's got somebody foundational in her life that constantly was like, here's what it is to be a friend, here's what it means to be a friend. But I feel like when you've been friends for as long as we have, like it's hard not to just be like, no, most of the pivotal friendship lessons, if you will, that I have come from you. I joked with you over your birthday that like thinking about it, you're the longest relationship I've ever had. And that's so true because you know, you've taught me to see myself in a different light, but not necessarily like the light that you would think, but like the parts of myself that like I might not want to look at or talk about or see or to reflect on. And I think that having a space for that has always been very pivotal for what is the saying? Like changing my DNA, if you will. You know, it's allowed me to heal in ways that I didn't know that I needed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like being a mirror saying, "Hey, I see this. What's going?" That's really interesting you say that because I don't think I was fully aware that I was doing that, but that's something Moira said too. Is she said that something along those lines, and I don't know, y'all are hearing it in this episode, whatever she said. But that's so interesting because I didn't know that I really did that. So you were showing me something that I do as well.
Practice, I guess.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think it's allowed me to have space for myself, but to then allow other people to have space. You know, it's taught me that you could always just ask, you know, yeah, it's definitely been so many lessons. But that's definitely the best one is that it's always been like, and And not in like a scary, oh, I don't want to talk about this kind of way. You've always been a very, I want you to know that you're seen kind of
Hmm.
a space. So that's always been, yes, necessary
Hmm.
in that.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I think that's valuable for everybody to hear as well. One thing I talk about quite often in the podcast is to talk about the friendship itself or to confront people more often than you think, and that it's not that scary. And I think I'm realizing through you saying that, which is really nice, and I think everybody listening can copy me, I guess. But no, I do think it's valuable to be like, hey, you can point out or tell your friend, hey, are you struggling with this or what's going on? And I want you to know you can talk to me about it. And um, yeah, yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. That's a very
Yeah.
unique piece of advice to say as well. I think it's really valuable for everyone to hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then like you
Yeah.
said, it's probably also really good for you to hear it because you didn't even know that you were doing
Yeah, truly. Which I love. I
it.
love.
Yeah.
What else you got, girl? I know you said you had bullet points.
So it's also taught me that friendship, you already kind of like hit on it a little bit. Friendship is like your family, is the
Mm,
people that you choose to call when you're having a horrible day, or the people that you choose to lean on when you can't lean, right? So,
mm-hmm.
it's definitely taught me that it's family is not family, but friendship is family. Friendship is creating that family and that foundation of,
Yeah.
here are the people that I want to see me at my lowest.
Mm-hmm.
Here are the people I'm choosing to let see me at my lowest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of beauty in that.
Yeah. Yeah, 1,000%. One thing that I was thinking about when I was, doing my own bullet points for everybody, and one thing I thought about with you especially, is that when you've been friends for so long, you have seen so many different versions of that friend and like what they have like gone through,
Yeah.
and you've like loved them at every stage. And it's also it's also so interesting because like love them at every stage and like being able to see them with where they are now. I do think that's one thing you and I do really well, is that like because when you became friends with me, for example, uh I was kind of an angry teen in some ways. I had, as I've talked about in this podcast probably numerous times, I had a very disorganized attachment, and uh you know just being in any kind of relationship with me was like a roller coaster. And I don't ever feel like you look at me like how I was then, ever. Like I feel like you see me for who I am now. And that's one thing that I have really learned from you. And even like, this is so small, but it's such a like small example. Katey used to be really into like country music and aesthetic. And then as she grew and like evolved and changed and tapped into what's more authentic to her, that is the last aesthetic that you will ever see in Katey's home. From learning from you, and like you always, I feel like, meet me where I'm at in this moment, even though you've loved all these past versions of me. And it reminds me of Katey going through that transition, because for a time period I was like, I couldn't like wrap my brain around it. Like I would see country things and be like, oh, Katey would like this, and then I'd have to be like, no, she doesn't. And then like it was, when I now see, like, if you will, like more like the witchy aesthetic, the black bats, like roses, dark roses and stuff. When I see that now, I think of Katey, but it took me a little bit of a conscious effort to be like, no, this is who she is now, you know?
Yeah. No, I
And that's
do.
one thing I've really learned from you.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
was also, that was one of the things I was gonna bring up too, is that it's, you watched, we've had so many different versions of each other that we've kind of progressed throughout the years. Like you were gonna stand next to me at a wedding. We both graduated college together. I mean, uh, your business, so many different milestones, and angsty teens. Like there's about 7 different phases in that time frame alone. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's definitely something that I've always valued in you too, is that I probably wasn't the easiest person to have around at times either, but you know, we still
Mhm.
persisted.
Yeah. And that's part of it, right? Is like being with people in their imperfections at times too. And I'm not saying for anybody to like, tolerate being disrespected or whatever it means. But if we didn't, and if we were just really quick to end the friendship, then we wouldn't have what we have now. Which kind of brings me to another point I wanted to um, touch on is that like so Mackenzie for years moved pretty like far away
Yeah, like
and
2 hours, 2.5 hours
2.5
away.
something like that
Yeah,
and was
not 10
far
minutes down the road.
right and was so like involved in what you had going on because you had a lot going on. I get really involved and I was telling Moira this too that I learned from that like okay I need to prioritize, I need to decide who I want to prioritize,
Hmm.
like learning through that experience. But also one thing I have learned is because we were absolutely inseparable growing up, and when you moved and we would still talk, we were still close and we would still really rely on each other and like very much valued each other, and
Hmm.
we didn't like speak as much as we normally did, right? Like our routines and our habits around each other changed. And one
Yeah.
thing that I think is really valuable for people to hear is one, us talk about this because it's good for you to talk about your friendship itself. But two, I think it's valuable for people to hear this because sometimes every once in a great while, and it's normally not somebody that would probably listen to this podcast, but every once in a great while, somebody will say something to me where they'll be like, well, what's the point if like friendships change and like grow and then you have to like grieve them and they're like not as like central to your life as like a partner or as like for some people like family members. And it makes me think of like this is a huge reason why because we get to have such a beautiful bond growing up together and still supported each other. We would still like go on like a yearly like weekend
Trip.
camping trip
Yep.
thing, and they still support each other, still we're like in each other's lives, but the flexibility of friendship and the way it can ebb and flow at times, I think is it cannot be understated how valuable that is. Because then when you moved back, my routine and my day to day, my week changed when you moved back. And I even
Hmm.
remember thinking that I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, Mackenzie's here. Like, and I would like, and same thing with my mom. My mom's hopped up at her surgery, and she's like, can Mackenzie come over? And I'm like, sure. I know you're healing. I'm trying to take care of you, mom. But sure, yeah, I'll bring your favorite daughter over.
Um,
We joke, we love it. But yeah, I think that's important for people to hear and to appreciate.
yeah. Well, and you bring up a point of, you said, people then that grieve that change, or that changing of, or the ending of friendship rather. But I never even felt like that was ever occurring. It was like, oh,
Mm. Yeah, I didn't feel
we're
that way
just,
either.
yeah, we're just both in college. That's
Yeah.
why I moved out. That's why I moved out to Grand Rapids, was to finish my undergrad. Honestly, didn't think I was going to move back home, but that's totally different conversation. And again, I'm grateful that I did. It was kind of like the
Mhm.
perfect storm of like, oh, this is actually what I needed right now. But it's really interesting because, yeah, I never even felt that way. Like, I remember
Mhm.
the first time that you came and visited me in Grand Rapids after I moved, and it was like, granted, yeah, a whole year had passed at that point,
Mm.
but it was like we picked right back up, you know, where we left off, and
Mhm.
that's how it's always been.
Right.
But yeah, again, I think that goes back to the, the different phases of each other is that, yeah, of course people are going to change. Your relationships are bound to change with them, right? But
Mhm.
like you said, doesn't have to be a weird, scary thing. It could be like, oh, like let's let's define this together. Like what does that look like for our adult selves, you know?
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing, I think.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I agree. And yeah, I didn't feel that way either. I didn't feel the grief. I think we've always picked up where we left off, and the I think part of that is because the trust was really there,
Yeah.
because of how much history and consistency, for those that listen to this podcast, right? The consistency, how much history we have like built up, and like vulnerability and trust, that we could just tap into that trust and didn't need that. But I do know
Yeah.
that that's really common for people. But all right, my dear friend, I could probably, just keep talking and talking and talking about our friendship. But is there anything else that you want to say, that you want to add?
No, other than I can't wait to see what the next 16 years of friendship holds and what else I'll learn
Ah!
and what else I'll learn from you and what else you'll learn from me.
Yes, me freaking either. Oh my gosh, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Love you too.
Kyle, for the first time ever being on a podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Super excited to do this for the very first
First
time.
time. This is totally not like our second or third take, anybody, because I'm having issues.
Yeah, just pull up one time. That's all you need.
That's that's it, Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I will make this super quick because I have stolen a bunch of Kyle's time tonight. Um, I will say it worked out. If I can start with a message from our friend. So we met. Actually, Kyle, how did we meet? Why are we
Wow.
friends?
Well, let's run it back. We have been friends for coming up on 11 years, which is very exciting. Uh, we met our freshman year at college. We hung out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to babysit you guys for a while. Made sure nobody, got hurt
Babysitting.
on different adventures and such things. But yeah.
Yeah, Kyle is definitely the calm to our chaos in the best way. Hopefully for you too, the best way.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Kyle, it's been really fun. I said this, in our last take or whatever, but you really feel like family to me. Our Kyle and I became friends, and we have this little friend group, and from our freshman year of college, and I just feel like the bonds that we have, like we celebrate the holidays together, we put things in the group chat. I'm totally not saying this for the second time, but if it's like not in the group chat, it's not real, because that's where all of the like family updates go.
Mhm.
And especially when it comes to you and I really feel like your family. Kyle also, I think, to my own family, feels like family. I can't have a family event without anybody asking how Kyle is doing or where Kyle is.
That's right. Everybody else's favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. This worked out though. Knock on wood or whatever here. It worked out that we're recording again. Thank you so much for having me back on.
Mhm.
Because our lovely friend who couldn't make it today sent a voice message, and her voice message, she's in the car, so it sounds a little funny. So I'm gonna, take something of what she said today, and then you and I can talk about it. But especially because I've taken so much of your time already, Kyle, what's a lesson that you have learned in friendship?
Well, my biggest lesson with our friend group and our friendship is being able to like accept my wins, my highlights, and all the good things in my life. Um, School, getting into school, other friendships, relationships, family things, now work, and all these big life events that I just kind of shrug my shoulders at because it's like, oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Obviously, you graduate. Obviously, you get a job. But you more or less forcing us to talk against our will about these kind of things really makes me realize it's good to vocalize it, put it out in the world, and be more willing to accept the positives in my life. So makes a big difference in a different mentality.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that. And also, that was not the thing that I thought you were going to say, you know? Like it's really cool to hear that and to know that that's something that you've gotten, you know, from our friendship and from being in friendship. And I noticed that you conveniently left out your favorite practice on how we go
Yes.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't remember how I exactly rung it into the conversation, but Jewel has started a tradition in our friend group whenever we have big group hangouts or dinners or whatever to talk about our wins and our woes, our highs and our lows, and something good and something bad that's happened to you and recently, just to talk about it. And I always roll my eyes and mumble and grumble and avoid it and pretend that I already went when I didn't go and all this stuff. But it really does. It is helpful, and I will deny it, even though there's video evidence. It's the AI and Photoshop, so it's not actually me. Um, but yeah, no, it's been cool. It's a fun thing to do.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna quote that. Highs and lows, a fun thing to do.
Mhm, mhm.
Never gonna live it down. Yeah, highs and lows. One thing that I have added with our friend group sometimes, especially, I think it's also like made us closer because we're a good mix of guys and gals. And I think one thing that I really appreciate from my friendships with guys is that with women, we're so like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? How are your emotions? Like, what's going on? Not that women can't be really fun and silly and goofy, but I just feel like that's a little bit more comfortable. And with guys, it's like immediately like goofy the majority of the time. And I'm not just like saying this from my own experience, by the way, everybody. It's been reported that women tend to have like face-to-face friendships where they're looking at each other and seeing each other and like feeling, and guys tend to have what are called like side-by-side relationships where it's centered around an activity where you're side by side and you're playing video games or you're watching sports or whatever. And I feel like our friend group in the mix in our friendship, we have such a great balance of both. But anyway, one thing that I appreciate about it though is making the guys do it even though they like to pretend that they already went and that they hate it, and then they grumble and they go, oh my gosh, Joel, this is a lot.
Mhm.
Is that it allows me to, in my opinion, make it a little bit safer for men to be vulnerable. Not that y'all really have a problem with it, like in our friend group, but I think in general it's something that may help a lot of guys to hear and like be more vulnerable and to share. And it helps you feel like you're living, like you're seeing somebody's experience on the week to week basis, and adding in like so highs and lows or wins and woes. And the warmth piece was really fun, being like, oh, what kind of warmth do you want sent your way? Like, what kind of good vibes, what kind of like cheering on or checking in do you want? We did that, and one of our friends said, oh, you know what? I had been like really working out and like really focusing on like my health and my fitness. And if y'all could ask me about that, I would really appreciate it. And if I never would have asked about the warmth piece, I would have never known that about that friend. You know, like it would have never came up. And it was so fun to ask him about it later. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you
Yeah.
love it. And it's your favorite thing ever.
Yep, ever. Yep. Top of the list, that's for sure.
Also, Kyle, not just me and our lovely friend Cece, but you also are friends with a lot of women in your life. And so I would just love to know your thoughts on that. I have never thought about it truly like, oh, these friendships are different. I mean, they are and they aren't in a lot of ways, honestly. Like when I think of the memories that like we've made throughout college and I think of my girlfriends, like I don't look at like our memories or anything different. You were there for me for some of the goofiest parts, for some of the like most vulnerable parts of like these past 11 years. I don't think of it differently, but I know some people out there do. And I think you were just like the best person to ask about that. Like, what are your thoughts on being friends with somebody of the opposite sex?
It's not really, well, there is some thought to it, but I just enjoy different people and different, realities. And it's not that I've gone out seeking friendships in that way. They just landed, and that's just how things have worked. And it's enjoyable, and it's a different perspective on life that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. There's a lot of issues that I'm not aware of that I have become aware of, and even different, ways to make jokes and how to speak kinder and, just be wiser and try to be, I don't know, better for lack of a better word. Yeah, no, it's made a big difference, and I'm happy that I've surrounded myself with good people, men and women alike, and
Mm.
I don't see how there should be any issues of having friendships with people of different genders. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't either. It's really simple. It was not something I thought of until I went to, for the first take to ask you about it. Cause I was like, oh, people are going to wonder about this because this does come up, even though it's not something that I normally think of because I
yeah,
think my friendships are they're still my friends.
yeah, it's not even a second thought of.
Yeah.
It's all one big friend group, and that's
Hmm.
how I look at it. That's my perspective on it. But
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to tell you too, I didn't tell you this in our last take, so at least I get the opportunity. I just appreciate our friendship so much. At one point, y'all, Kyle lived with me, and to this day, I still make the joke like, "Oh, my brother Kyle, like that was his space when he lived here." And again, like I said earlier, you've been such a cheerleader for me and so supportive of me throughout these past 11 years, as well as like we've like really grown together in so many different ways. Like, I think because we're also not just like different gender wise, but we're also different as far as, I don't know, personality wise.
oh yeah,
And
a
I
little
feel,
yin yang action.
yeah. And I feel like that that is so valuable and like the different perspectives, but also um I feel like having that in a friendship is also just really valuable in general. Like having the yin to the yang, like somebody to maybe be a little, I don't know which one of us, but like for somebody to be a little bit louder or to, encourage silliness or advocacy and the other person to be like, "Hey, it's really not that big of a deal." I think it is valuable.
Sometimes you got to be grounded a little bit. Touch your toes to the grass a little bit. But
Alright, I'll consider. Um, but I do wanna share really quickly, our friend sent us a voice memo, and I would play the voice memo, except it's her in the car, and it's really windy, but our friend Cece, who Kyle and I are friends with in this friend group, has a couple of kiddos. She's the first in our friend group to do that, and she said in this voice memo that she wanted everyone to hear that is, like, a new parent to hear and know that their friendships are going to change and that you are going to gain new ones as well. And I think that's really good for everyone to hear as far as like for everyone in general, even if you don't have kids, like our friendships like shift and change every 7 years. Like somebody who may be your best friend will be your good friend, and somebody who's your good friend will be your best friend, and somebody will leave and somebody else will come in. And that's like the flexibility of friendship that we talk about a lot here on this podcast. But one thing that she really said that I just want everybody to hear if they are a new parent is that sometimes you may feel left out. And it doesn't mean that your friends are doing it on purpose. It just might mean that like you are busy or you're unable to attend. And another thing that she kind of touched on is like you can just talk to your friends about it. And I think that's one thing that we have had to grow and learn to do is we felt like, oh, we want her to feel included, but like practicing the communication of that, um, I think is something that we all had to really do. There's been a lot of times where we have wanted Cece to feel included and she hasn't been able to join or whatever because of the kiddos, and we love those kiddos and we want to see those kiddos. And there's sometimes where we just want like adult time and we want
mhm,
her to feel valued. And I think one thing that our friend group has had to practice is the communication of that.
for sure.
And so I was wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, that was especially more in the beginning. That was kind of a big deal because, like, yes, we wanted her there, or yeah, like I said, they just wanted more of an adult hangout. Where it's like, yeah, not really
Mm-hmm.
a kid type setting, or but we still want to have that like friend dynamic without outcasting Cece. And I remember you just distinctly saying, just tell her. We're all just like trying to figure out, okay, what's a good way to like breach this subject without hurting your feelings. You're just like, just say it. Almost like, and not that you were, but almost like you're kind of like fed up with like, just say it. It's like, oh yeah, all right. Yeah, that's, yeah, obviously you can do that. So yeah, but as the kiddos have gotten older and as we've gotten wiser, you know, it's gotten a little easier to make those decisions and say, hey, like this, let's try to make this work, or what can we do? And you know, now it's a little easier. No, not that it's easier to get together as everybody's getting busier with life and the kiddos are getting older and doing more things, and you know, we're all adults now and have to do adult things. But I feel like the talking and communication's gotten easier and better. Not that it's
Yeah.
perfect yet, and you know, probably won't ever be perfect, but we can strive to be a little bit better every day.
Absolutely. I also love that you gave me credit there. I was wondering if you were gonna say like, I don't know, wow. It's almost
Yeah.
like I, do connection work for a living. But yeah, at one point I was like, let's just tell her. Let's just tell her we want her to feel included. Let's just do that.
It's that easy. Imagine that.
Imagine that. Kyle, thank you so much for being on the Socially Delightful podcast for the first time ever, your first podcasting experience. Thank you.
It was
I
my
love
absolute
you.
pleasure. I love you. Thanks for having me.
Y'all, I'm so excited because I have one of my best friends, one of my longest friends, somebody who has seen all the versions of me for the past 17 plus years, and I've seen all the versions of her. I'm so excited. Y'all, meet my best friend, Katey.
Hi! Is this so different for me? Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, you're doing great, sweetie. And now everybody gets to hear your laugh. Oh my gosh. Everybody that I ever introduced Katey to has always told me after, like, she's the best laugh. And I'm like, I know.
I try my best.
You gotta bless the people. Well, Katey, I got a sneak preview. I have mine. You have not gotten a preview of mine yet. But do you want to start by sharing your first lesson that you've learned in friendship?
Yes, I think my number one thing that I've learned in friendship, especially with being friends with you for 17 plus years, is how is the difference, like you can be different from one another and still be the best of friends. We've been friends for so long and yet we are entirely different people. And I just love that because I don't know, you can see both sides of each other and I don't know, difference is good.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely one of my biggest things. And also being able to lean on one another. I think I've learned that most recently. Trying to, I don't know, be more open to friendships and like having people to lean on and stuff like that. And yeah, it just makes you feel more understood and accepting or like, I don't know,
Yes.
understood and accepted, I guess.
Yeah,
Like
and
being vulnerable is good. It feels good.
yeah, it's very vulnerable to do, and I'm so glad that you've been doing it and reaching out. I think not that you haven't been, like, comfortable leaning on me in the past, but I think it takes you a minute, like, and Nick can cut this if you're not okay with it. But I think it takes you a minute in order to get to reach, like, to ask, like, you, like, kind of are like, "Oh, I'm fine," and then eventually you're like, "Can you please talk to me about this?"
Yes. Mhm.
And I feel like you've been doing that earlier, and it feels vulnerable, but, like, it feels so good, and that's one thing that I'm always saying on this podcast is, like, your friends want to be there for you. They
Mhm.
want to feel, like, useful and supportive of you in your life because I feel like it's the difference between, like, friends that just, like, go and, like, catch up versus
Mhm.
friends that are, like, living their lives
Mhm.
together, like, making memories together. Like, when you're supporting somebody, it's and, like, being there for them, like, it's like I get the opportunity to be vulnerable, like, with you and, like, to accept your vulnerability and to see you and to uplift you and, like, to be a part of that moment with you, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah.
the more you do it, the more it feels, I don't know, more normal, I guess.
Heck yeah, girl. So proud. Everybody claps for Katey. Yeah, no.
It definitely does truly feel a lot. Like, it just feels almost like you're, like, closer to that person when you don't keep people at arm's, like, length and whatnot. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I want to touch, because I know you're saying you're 3. I want to touch on what you said about us being so different. I think we are similar where it matters. However, if we would to have like met each other, even when we did meet, okay, y'all, we met in 8th grade, sitting next to each other in a math class. And Katey had her notebook covered with the Jonas Brothers, and I was like, oh my gosh, hi, I like the Jonas Brothers too. It started from there. But even then, I would say that we have always had very different like styles and different like personalities. And it's so funny because y'all, Katey walks in and she's normally wearing like all black. She has this like really awesome bat purse, and I walk in with like my fruit sweater and like just color everywhere.
Color everywhere.
Everywhere all the time. Always been like that. Remember when I painted my room 8 different colors? That was crazy.
I do.
But
and your colored skinny jeans.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I still have a couple of those.
That was
actually.
An era.
But so people never would have like, I think, looked at us and been like, oh yeah, those 2 right there. But what we have in common is not something that like when people think of like, oh, I want to go make a best friend, they normally think of somebody that's like similar to them. But they could miss people that I think, I don't know, I think what we have is like the purest form of friendship where we're there for each other, we support each other, and our values are truly like, I was explaining this to someone the other day. I was talking about you, and I was like, Katey, at the end of the day, Katey and I are out to understand each other, cheer each other on, and have a great freaking time. All the time. That's what we're all about.
Literally always.
And I think that's why we've been so close for 17 years. Like, you're like my sister. You guys, I was texting Katey about getting ready for a concert, and I was like, I don't know what to wear. And she was like, wear like new my closet. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
And I just want people to hear that, because you might be surprised with who you click with. And don't like, you don't have to be best friends with everybody, but also like, I think sometimes when you're lonely and you're looking for friends, you can cut people off of the list prematurely, you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think like seeing past, even if there is differences, seeing past it and like for the person, like who they are as a person is really important too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think difference is good.
Yeah, and I've learned so much from you, and so much like from our different points of views and perspectives, like backgrounds, all these things. Like so much. It's like opened up my eyes to so many things.
Me too, for sure.
And that's such a gift. And but again, I think that's why we're able to do it.
I agree.
Yeah.
17 more years. Actually, no, 17 times like 4.
Yeah.
Hopefully, actually, maybe times 5.
Maybe. Yeah, let's hope for that. Okay, what was your third thing?
I think that was, didn't I say all 3?
Oh, did you?
I might have. Yeah. The other one was friends that bring out the best in you. I don't know if I said that. I might have not. But I think I learned that the most, especially hanging out with you. Every time I leave, I feel so fulfilled. Like, I just want to go out and do like all the best things and like be a better person, and like, yeah, just it's like leaving sunshine on a cloudy day. I don't know, or like having sunshine on a cloudy day. So yeah, I think that is another thing I learned too, is just
finding friends that like bring out the best in you, because then it's going to make you feel good too.
Yeah.
It's like a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually, so the thing I wanted to tell you is actually very similar to that. I feel like from a young age, you taught me how to be, not that I was like a bitch before, but like I feel like watching you get so excited for your friends, like, and whenever something good happened to me growing up and I told Katey about it, you would have thought it was happening to Katey as well. Like the amount of joy that you have, I've just always, like, that brings out the best in me, and I always want to, like, I laugh harder and I have more fun and I'm more joyful, I think, as like a personality. Again, not that it was like miserable, but I really do. I think like those parts of me, the volume has been turned up through our friendship and how important that is, but also the ability to be like so deeply excited for my friends. I really learned that from you and your capacity to be excited and to be like so like loving to that person, because also it can be kind of vulnerable as a woman to like celebrate in front of other women. You know what I mean? Like I find that, and a lot of the research reflects this, that women have an easier time like sharing like negative vulnerable things rather than like positive things that are like celebrations that feel vulnerable, you know? And
Yeah.
I feel like because of you, I have an easier time doing that, and I invite other people to do that too.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
I definitely do get excited for everyone.
Yeah.
I love all my friends,
Mhm.
especially the special ones. And it feels good to, I don't know, for them to like see that, as well as like, I don't know, even for yourself too.
Yeah, like you just get to feel that joy and excitement
Mhm.
in your body. Beautiful.
And then share it with everyone else.
Yes. All right, Katey, thank you so much for popping on the Socially Delightful podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited, y'all, to have my friends JP and Nicki back on the Socially Delightful podcast. The crowd goes wild. Y'all, to this day, it's been 1 year. Happy 1 year anniversary to y'all podcasting. This is a podcast episode that people just absolutely love, because I love telling people too. It's also the podcast I direct people to, because your guys' episode, because I'll be like, yeah, if you think it's weird to go like seek out friends, just listen to me explain to my friends what I did to them. And you'll realize it's really not. So yeah, I'm sure everyone's super excited y'all are here. Well, welcome.
Yay, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yay. I want to start with just hearing like, what are your lessons, things that you've learned in friendship, and feel free to go first, whoever feels called. Called to it.
Oh, JP.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, it's such a broad topic. I'm like, where do you even start?
Where do you
even
begin? Yeah.
Yeah. But when I was like thinking on this question, I go back to the pyramid, the friendship triangle. I feel like that's like where it all started. I think that was what we were talking about that one night in Greece when we're with the bottle of wine drawing on the table. But yeah, I was really thinking on that because I think for me that's been kind of like a nice visual of friendship. And especially as an adult, like forming friendships. And for me, it's interesting because like growing up, so like for those who don't know the friendship triangle, you know, you have vulnerability. Sorry, you got your consistency,
JK
vulnerability,
passing her
and
note
positive.
cards.
Yep, I got you guys. So you got your consistency, vulnerability, and positive impact, or positive experiences. And what was interesting is consistency, I think, is one that just as an adult can be challenging. And I was thinking about it because I'm like, when you're growing up, consistency was kind of done for you. I was talking to my friends about this. I was like, we didn't have to think about that. We knew when we were going to see each other next. I'm going to see you at school tomorrow. I'm going to see you at drama club. I'm going to see you at the next sorority meeting. Like it was already done for us essentially. And then once you like, you know, get out of college and as an adult, you're like, why is this so hard? It's because it's not done for you anymore. Like you have to do this yourself. And I know that seems like duh, but like it's a big adjustment. It really is. It's no longer like, you know, you're just in the same city or down the street. It's okay, we have to work around different work schedules and different, like, you might still be in school or balancing different lifestyles now. And it's like challenging to work around that and finding people now who have more aligned interests. It's now, you know, not just your classmate. It's now trying to find people who enjoy the same things you do. It's a lot and it's really hard. So yeah, I was really reflecting on that and how, like, kind of what I've learned, what's worked for me. Because I think as an adult, it's really easy for us to get busy and to like kind of forget about it, to, you know, focus on other things. And I think that's where we lose touch so easily with people, is because we just don't think about it and we're like, oh my God, I haven't talked to this person in 3 months. Like it just goes by. And so for me, I think what helps me is planning like these like weekly girls' nights and weekly game nights, because it kind of, this is like my organized activity. I'm like, okay, every Tuesday at this time, we're doing our game night. And then I don't have to think about it. There is no, hey, what day are you free or what? Nope, this is our time and black it off. And then you don't have to think about it. So I think for me, that is something that I have found helps me. And what I've learned is helpful for as an adult, bringing that back in. So that's something I've learned helps me.
Yeah, I love that. I can't remember if we talked about this in the last episode over a year ago, or probably just about a year ago. Happy anniversary. I can't think if we talked about it then, but one thing that the three of us do is we meet every Monday in the middle, which it just happens to be Nicki's house. But it really feels like those hangouts. I mean, and we do things like go on walks and like, you know, Nicki made dinner,
Craft.
yeah, made dinner for us one time. Or yeah, we do a bunch of things, but it's so nice to, even there's been a few times where we've been like, okay, we're just gonna like coexist, and it makes me feel like even in those days really connected to y'all, because then I'm like, I'm living my life with this person. I'm not just like catching up with this person. Like even just like it's so low effort. Like there was one day where JP was gone and this wasn't our weekly meetup, but where I was at Nicki's house for like 10 hours and didn't realize it. And it was like super late into the evening and she was teaching me how to knit and we just got so sucked into it. And yeah, I like it feels like we talked about this. JP just got back from a trip at the time of recording. So we talked about this like weeks ago when we were all together, but about how like y'all said, and it really touched me, like, oh yeah, this is like my family now. Like we're like a part of each other's family. And so I think it's just really fun. Those weekly get it off your brain. Like it's just on the calendar. We're doing it. Like it's fun to see how it's like bloomed the connection. And I love too that we use it for catch-up time, we use it for coexisting time, we use it for like activity time, which activities are really bonding. But yeah, I digress. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I love that the friendship triangle has been planted in your brain. But Nicki, what about you?
I mean, man, I should have went first because consistency is a big one too. I would definitely say I think about the friendship triangle all the time. And another thing too, just to add on with our Monday hangouts, I also appreciate like you guys come and you've already had dinner, so I don't have to worry about cleaning my house or feeding you food or whatnot. Like it's no stress off my back and stuff too. So I appreciate that as well. But yeah, consistency, I would agree with JP. I think too, just to kind of continue, and I know you talked about me in one of your episode. I was about to claim it my episode, where when we first became friends, we had that trauma dump session, which like in a very like non-trauma dump way.
Yeah.
where we just like kept the conversation like going, but it never went anywhere. And I remember after listening to that podcast episode, I like went to my husband. I was like, I never knew she wanted to be my friend that bad.
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah, I was shocked. I was like, we could have like had more time to, and of course, Brandon's like, everything worked out as it is, but I just like, you know, and then that tied me into, you know, the fear of rejection. I wonder if like that was like, because I'm like thinking like what prevented me from like reaching out and making this continue to happen. And it wasn't anything. I think it was more so me. Like I was afraid like, you know, you were interested in being friends with someone else in the sorority. And I know we had that great moment, just that consistency wasn't there.
That's such a, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that you had any sort of fear of rejection to it. So I'm so glad that we're getting to talk about this. I think too, and one thing that Moira mentioned when I had her on, so same episode, but one thing Moira mentioned is she was like, I thought it was like, quote unquote, like it could be seen as like mean to like prioritize people. But one thing I was doing in that time, Nicki, I really wanted to be your friend, but I was frantic with my loneliness that I was like trauma dump, just spewing my guts on like, you know, like on everyone, just all around, and was like, be my best friend, be my best. And I was doing that. And so it also hearing that and reflecting, that was like forever ago. First of all, that was like probably almost 10 years ago, which is so crazy. But that time, like there was no chance for us to have consistency because I was also frantic and graspy and spewing. I think I even did it to JP in the same year. So like slowing down to prioritize, and y'all, I prioritized these individuals, and as I said in their original episode, I prioritized 4 women. One of those women was like, you know, completely rejected me. Another one of those women became like a close friend, and these 2 are now my family. You know, like these are the people that I call when like stuff hits the fan. These are the people that like when they go through things, I'm like, I almost swore, but I don't know if I can do that. But I'm like, babe, I need to say it with emphasis. I'm coming over. I'm cleaning. So, yeah.
Hey, sorry, I'm going to use a Nick moment. I'm on a podcast with Joel and JP.
It's a Nick moment.
You want to say hi real quick? Nick's going to cut it out.
Yeah.
But I have to say Nick. So
yeah, Nick, do you want to say hi to your DJ? There he is. DJ
yeah.
Brandon.
CJB. Like Romeo's barking. I'm like, oh shit. I forgot to tell Brandon.
Honestly, Nick, you can keep that. That's hilarious.
That was beautiful.
A++.
All right,
and scene.
And scene.
But yeah, was there anything else y'all wanted to share, though? I don't want to take up all your time with my appreciation with y'all.
I mean, this wasn't a lesson that I necessarily had really with you guys. It was something I learned early on from my grandma. And you brought it up, Jewel, for me to kind of have that like memory of it. But one of the things is like, we're going to get into fights with our friends, right? We're going to get into fights with our best friends. We're going to have disagreements. We're human at the end of the day. We have our own perspectives. One time there's a time where my friend and I, we planned this whole trip to Chicago. Everything was planned, ready to go. And they backed out in my view, in a very like unnecessary means to back out. Like I was like, you could make this work. So I was very frustrated and I had to cancel everything. I got my money back, but I was very upset about it. And I remember telling my grandma about it, and she goes, Nicki, is this like really something you want to lose a friendship over? And that made me take a step back and really check myself and be like, no, like I'm not going to end my friendship over this. So it allowed me to kind of like collect myself and to take that breather. It made me think about the episode you had where the friend offered to pay for a birthday dinner and they picked a barbecue place and that friend was a vegetarian. And that kind of made me think of a moment like, is that what they're really going to lose a friend over? You know, you can be upset and have that problem, but is that the means to end a friendship?
I just love that so much. I'm so glad you shared, and that's why I suggested it to you, because it's so that, like, hearing that makes me so happy, because I think friendship's been so undervalued in our culture, in our lives, and that kind of, like, it seeps in, right? Like, no one's saying directly, like, well, actually, maybe some people are, like, friendship's not as important, but for your grandma to be, like, to know, like, the value of that, it just, I love that. And I think that's such a good question for everybody to keep in their back pocket, is like, is this really worth losing a friendship over, like, the value of it? Yeah. Yeah.
And I have one more that I wanted to
Please
share. Is that okay?
Oh my gosh,
okay.
of course.
Another one, and I think I still might need to sit and think about this one. But in my relationship, so I'm married, and I am friends, of course, with my husband's friends. He's friends with my friends. But one of the things that I think really made me feel secure, not only in my romantic relationship, but in my friendships, is I have friends that cross him and I's relationships. But at the end of the day, my friends are my friends. So I've seen a lot of people where, unfortunately, they're only friends where their partner's friends or their partner's friends' significant others. And then they end up ending that relationship and kind of standing there, and people feeling like they have to take sides, or it gets awkward to continue a friendship after that relationship's no more. So really establishing that support outside of your romantic partner, I think, is also a very important area. It's not because you want to keep something separate, just to have that space where you're like, this is where I can grow as an individual outside of my romantic relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's always very important.
That's one thing I think you do really well, Nicki, is we will go and we will hang out with you and your husband and, like, have fun. And, like, I feel like Brandon's one of our friends too. And you will be like, no, Brandon, I need to go hang out with my friends. Like, you will be like, no, but it's just like that's one thing I think you've always, since I've been friends with you, you do really well. And I do think that's really important too. Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. And I guess in terms of anything else for me to add, so the other thing that I'm still thinking on and still working on as an adult is, like, how friendships evolve as you evolve as a person and through life. And I think what's challenging, and I was talking through this with some of my friends earlier, is that it can be hard when you feel like you're growing distant from maybe some friendships or some people. And what's hard is that in a romantic relationship, you know when it's over. You have the conversation like it's over. But, like, with friendships, sometimes you just, like, kind of grow distant, you lose touch, and you don't always have that, like, conversation of, like, yeah, this is, like, done. And that can be, like, really challenging and hard. And that's something that I'm kind of experiencing, where I'm like, there's, like, a group of people who I'm just not as close to. And it's hard because I'm like, part of me is like, oh, I really want to be a part of this group. But at the same time, is it worth putting energy into trying to still be a part of that when maybe our interests don't align like they did years ago? Maybe we've just kind of shifted in our phases in life and our interests, and that's totally possible. So just, like, allowing myself that time to, like, process that and, like, grieve that, but also realizing that in doing so opens the door and time and energy to put towards my other friendships with the people who I'm actually closer with. So that's another thing that I've been working through and kind of thinking on a lot more.
I really appreciate you sharing that. I think that's so helpful for everyone to hear. And honestly, something that we all need to, because sometimes I think when that's talked about, like, when they're like, oh, then they weren't true friends, or then, it wasn't meant to be, or whatever it is. And it's like, no, sometimes you just grieve, like, the drifting of a friendship, and of a friendship, in some cases ending, but also you can grieve, like, oh, our friendship used to be like this, and now it's like this. And allowing for that as an adult, I think is really important. And I really thank you for sharing that. It's really helpful for everyone to hear, because I think sometimes what happens when I'm working with clients is they'll be like, oh, but then friendships were supposed to be forever, or, like, then they weren't a true friend, or then they never really cared. And it's like, no, none of that has to be true. It can just be that things have, like, changed and shifted, and there's grief involved. And it's such a balance, and I want to know your thoughts on this. was wondering, because I see some people are really quick to cancel on their friends or not to prioritize their friends, or to even like say, like, if I'm like, yeah, just fit friends into your life like regularly, and you sometimes that means getting creative, right? Like, especially if you're a new mom, if you are an entrepreneur, like sometimes that means getting creative. But I noticed that some people, when like it's one of the first things to go for them, and I was wondering, I was like, I wonder how JP and Nicki's thoughts, like, do you think, and I'm not trying to give myself credit, I'm trying to give like the value what I do credit, but like, do you think like being friends with me has like made you think about friendship more, prioritize it more, value it more? Because I feel like I watch other people in our culture easily dismiss it, that I'm not like regularly in their lives, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, yes, I'm much more conscious of friendship because I'm friends with you and you talk about it all the time. But I think for me, in college, I had an experience where, like, I liked a guy. I didn't really have many friends. I put all of my eggs in a basket type of thing where I was like, I don't need friends. If I just get this guy, I will be so happy. I'll be, happy with him. I don't need anybody. And then he broke my heart and I had no one to go to. I was like down in the dumps and no one was there for me because I didn't have a support system. And I really felt that, what that was like, and I was like, I need to have that support system. That's so important for me. So I think after, probably like soon after that, is when I started going towards the sorority and like making an effort to like make friendships and like not date, because I was like, I really want to build that community of support and have those people, because yeah, without it, just, it was really hard to like put all my eggs in the basket. And I do tend to notice that, yeah, some people, when they get in a relationship, they do kind of shove the other things aside. But again, if you put all of your eggs in your basket and then it falls through, you're screwed. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say I definitely agree with that, because there's times where, I'm like slipping into a depression and we get those negative distortions, right? I have no one, I'm alone. And that's usually a lot of people's biggest fears, is being alone. And there's no ignoring you guys on Monday. It's not happening, like, even if we have a lot going on, like, you guys are on my FaceTime, you hold me accountable to that. And not only that, you hold me accountable to a routine, which also is really good with mental health and that self-care piece. So it's like I'm forced, based in a very good way, but I'm held accountable to doing that self-care piece by enjoying my time with you guys and embracing that friendship, having people to hear me out, but also to hear them out, do something fun, do nothing at all. Like, absolutely. It's very valuable.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. I was wondering, I was a little suspicious. I was like, I wonder if this has, because I believe it was Nicki, one time you were talking about somebody in your life that was going through something, and you really quickly said, and they don't really have friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have such good friends that, and I clocked it and I went, huh, because to be honest, it stuck out to me because there's, the culture that we swim in, the circles that I was around, it was not that like talked about in that way. And you're absolutely right. My supervisor at Social Prescribing USA, she always says connection is the foundation for mental health. And I think you like showcased why that is and explained that so thoroughly. Well, thank you all so much. I could talk to you for another like 3 hours, of course. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh.
Thanks for having us. Always love chatting about it.
And you know what? Thank you for applying your science to our friendship. We should do, if people are going to think it's the Illuminati.
I'm dead. Mickey's holding up a triangle for our audience.
Friendship cult.
I'm dead. Oh my god. I love you guys. Oh my gosh. Moira Van Loon, Momo, welcome to the Socially Delightful Podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
It's so fun. Moira and I have been friends. I can't do quick math. I think for 11 years was last time I checked.
About, yeah.
Coming up on 12, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. We met our freshman year of college. And I just always thought you were just the coolest person. And if y'all are seeing her on video, you get a glimpse of that. Your amazing style. But Moira is one of the most like creative and talented and smart people I have ever met. Yeah, and I'm so excited to talk about our friendship today.
Me too. You are so sweet.
Okay, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I don't know. I guess I can start. Let's see. I wrote notes at the climbing gym in really messy
I
cursive.
love that.
So there's like chalk all over my notebook now.
Cute.
Okay, so you wanted us to talk about lessons we've learned from friendship, and I feel like I've learned so much from you. We met, like you said, our freshman year of college, and that was a time in my life where I was learning like, oh, your friends are just supposed to like you the way that you are. Like, you know what I mean? It's like your friends just can love you exactly as you are and you don't need to change. And I feel like just in high school, middle school, you know, like people can be so mean because they're just scared and they're like, you're not acting how I think you're supposed to be acting and I'm in danger and I gotta like fix your behavior or whatever. I feel like a lot of, I don't know, in high school, like girls will just be like, you know, how we jokingly go, you're embarrassing me, but it's like they would actually be like that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so like I got to college and was just making all these friends and I was like, oh, wow, like this is amazing. I don't know that people can just kind of accept you, love you, build you up, like, and I feel like that still was a long like learning process from there. But I do remember saying to a few people in my freshman year, like, oh my God, your friends are just supposed to like you. Like, duh, clearly.
Yeah, I remember us talking about this and in the past, and oh shoot, what was I gonna say? There's one explanation. I do think it like deserves a caveat because like if you have social anxiety or attachment issues, it's like not always exactly applying to every situation. But there's this person that oh my gosh, I can't even remember who said it, so it's gonna really bother me. But she said, she was like, I think you have found your people when you don't feel stupid. Like when you don't feel stupid, you don't feel embarrassing. You can just like that's what it means to like be yourself. Like you're goofy, you're vulnerable, you're imperfect, you're all of these things. And yeah, I just feel like that really reflects what you said and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. It's so true. Because, like,
Yeah.
some people, I feel like some people you'll feel like drained around, or like you're like constantly like watching yourself almost. But yeah, when you're with the right people, you just kind of like flow and it's like easy. Yeah. I feel like one thing that you talk about that I think about a lot is the like prioritizing friendships, which I think to some people can like at first can almost sound off-putting, like what you're gonna prioritize like your friend. But it's like we only have so much time, we only have so much energy, and like it is good to think about like who can you really like invest effort and time in. And like because I don't know, if you don't have enough bandwidth and you're trying to do too much, you're just like doing a bad job at being everyone's friend. Like sorry, Marigold is being so crazy right now. My cat, she's like rolling around.
Love her.
But yeah, I feel like that just comes up a lot in my mind when I'm like, I don't know, maybe stressing about something. It's like, okay, but like who do I have the time for? And like I don't know. Yeah, it just I think it helps me to not like be hard on myself when I feel like I'm like maybe letting someone down, or like if I can't like give someone the time that they're like asking for. Because it is like I can't be everyone's like best friend and there for everyone all the time kind of thing.
No, absolutely. And I actually think that's one thing I've really learned from you, honestly. So it's funny to hear you say that because when you moved, Moira moved and she was 10 hours away. for quite some time during our friendship. And I think before, like during that time, like in college, I was like textbook fearful, avoidant, disorganized attachment. So the roller coaster was so real. And I was constantly like grasping for friends and then like pushing everybody away and like hiding for a bit. But when I was in that place of grasping, I was trying to be like 20 people's best friends. And I think that's
Right.
one thing I learned from you and felt, whether you meant to teach it to me or not, I felt that from you, because even when you moved, I felt that you intentionally like made time for me or to talk with me or to check in with me. And I had like a hard check with myself and I was like, oh, I need to like again like kind of like choose who I can be a good friend to, and I want to be a good friend to Moira. I want to prioritize this person, and it doesn't mean that the other people weren't worthy in their own right, but you literally, if you're trying to be like a best friend to everybody, you're just not gonna really be like as a supportive good friend as you could be to some people.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead though.
Yeah, and it's so funny. We stayed connected when I lived in Houghton. We'd FaceTime all the time. You came to visit me with my brother even, which was so much fun. And like, even something so like, not small, but you know what I mean? It's like, that's still like, that always meant so much that you would like come visit because it's so far. Like, not that many people were able to visit. So it was always like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just cool that we were able to
Yeah.
stay connected through that. Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
chose each
I don't
other.
know. Yeah, exactly. And like I was just reflecting on like it's like we've been friends for so long. Um and we really always did like stay close, which is cool. Even if we didn't talk for a little while, like and that's another thing that you talk about a lot like on your podcast and things like that is like the ways of building connection and like the value of having history with people, because that takes time to build, and like that security is so like I don't know, it just can you can have such like a deep friendship through that.
Yeah, like we've loved each other and have witnessed each other through so many different versions of ourselves
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and like so many like like watched each other like be in pain and in joy and all of the like so many different versions, and watched each other grow. And you don't get that immediately, and I don't want anyone to hear this and to think like, oh, well, I can't make a best friend. It truly takes like these intentional actions. Like connection can happen in an instant, but that's why I'm so big on prioritizing, is because if you're trying to be friends with everybody, like friendship takes building, and connection can happen instantly. Friendship does not. That trust does not.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So good.
I did note about our Google Calendar planning. I love that. Whenever we get together, we try to plan something on Google Calendar for next time so that we like have set that time aside ahead of time, because it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm so busy, but it's like something like a month out, you can make a day like an evening for your friend, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that's worked so well. Like, and that's another thing that I wanted to say is like I feel like people think that friendships just happen. And I think in relationships, like romantic relationships, people can be like, oh, it's just supposed to happen. We shouldn't have to talk about it. But it's like you do have to talk about it, and it doesn't make it less meaningful. To like, I don't know, like say that part out loud. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to see you. We're busy. Let's plan this right now. Like, and like talking through things, like having difficult conversations and being like asking for what you need, like asking for support when you need it. And like we talked through, we were kind of having a miscommunication of like how to ask each other for support when we needed it. And since we had that conversation, it worked perfectly. Like, you were like, okay, well, you, like, if you need to talk, like, text me, like, do you have 15 minutes? I need a friend. And that, like, has worked so well because we were just, like, seeing it in different ways, and not feeling supported by each other. But it's not because we didn't want to support each other. It's just that we didn't understand, like, what would make the other person feel supported. And I just think it's so important to, like, be willing to do that for friends too. Like, set those intentions and, like, have those conversations together.
Yeah, that was one of my things too. You said it so well though, and it makes my eyes sting and gives me goosebumps at the same time because it made me feel so much closer to you to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And it's one that so many people don't have and they just hold back. But like it deepened, not that we didn't have trust before, but I swear I felt it like deepen. And yeah, it makes, I can feel the emotions coming up about it because it made me feel even like closer to you than I already
Exactly.
did. So
Exactly. And that's like, yeah, it's scary to have that conversation. And in the moment, you might feel like, well, this doesn't feel easy. So I could just decide to be like, oh, well, it's not easy. Maybe we're not supposed to be close. You know, you could pull away so easily.
yeah,
It's so easy to avoid that, like, possibly uncomfortable conversation when it's like, if you just talk about it, you'll just feel closer and probably come to an understanding. And it's
so
I don't
good.
know. Okay, a few more things I want to say. I think we have a couple more minutes.
Yeah, do your thing.
So one thing I really admire about you is you always let people know, like, what you admire about them. Appreciate, like, you let people know that you appreciate them and, like, what you admire about them. And I love that you, like, notice things about people and, like, tell them. I feel like I, like, learned more about that from you because sometimes that doesn't come naturally to me. Like, obviously I'll notice things about people, but I forget to, like, tell them, and that's important. And it, like, I don't know, can feel, like, so meaningful when someone notices something and, like, compliments you on it. You know what I mean? So I feel like I've always noticed you do that, and it, like, I don't know, it just, like, I don't know, it just lights people up, and I love it so much.
Thank you for saying that. Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
sick and now I'm gonna be a ready faucet from all these emotions. Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and I also just wrote, you also, like, accept people as they are. And, like, I think something that's so important is, like, not asking people to change, accepting them the way that they are, and even, like, loving them actively for the way that they are, in ways that people may see like flaws, like letting them know, like, I see you, I accept you, I can accommodate you, you know, like, I'm here for you. But then still asking people to grow together, you know what I mean? And, like, that's what I value so much in friendships today, is, like, friends who help you, like, remember what your values are and, like, strive towards that, and, like, are willing to, like, have difficult conversations and, like, grow together. And I don't know, I just feel like you've helped me so much with all of that throughout our 11 or 12 years of friendship.
Wherever it is. Yeah, no, that I feel it's so funny to hear you say that because and this is so true, like, we see things in people that we appreciate about ourselves too. So I have felt that way with you, so it's really funny to hear you say that. And especially if I can hijack just for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. I just talked through the 10 minutes.
No, it was beautiful, Moira. It was so, oh my gosh, like, so important. Because it's one thing for, like, people to come and then to just hear me talk about it, but to have somebody else say that, it's so valuable. And I want to shout out my podcast editor. And Nick, if you cut this, I swear. He didn't want to be interviewed, which is totally fine. It's not everybody's thing. But he was like, yeah, that's not for me. And I was like, cool. But I want to shout him out and give him some credit for a second because Nick and I have been friends since we were 12 years old, and I really feel like I was so. Ooh, wow. I had a lot of attachment issues, like like as Moira has witnessed, in my in these past 11 years, and Nick has always been like, I see you, I understand where you are, I accept this, and you gotta work on this, pal. Like, he's always had that energy with me, whether he's realized it or not. And that's such a important balance of like, I don't blame you for this, I understand where you're coming from, and like, you can grow. Like, you can do this. And that's such a oh great, it's back. But that's something I feel with you, Moira, so often. And I just want to shout out where I feel like I learned that as well. But this was so good. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Just like one last point with what you were saying about like someone who will tell you like you need, like, I see you, I accept you, but you need to work on this. Like, I think it was in college sometime, I was like having a hard time with taking like feedback and criticism and stuff. And they were like, if someone is willing to tell you something that you're doing wrong, it's because they respect you. Like, they see that you could improve. And I was like, oh, like, that makes sense. They're like, I see you, you're intelligent, you're trying, and here's some feedback for you to grow with. Like, yeah.
So true. So true. Confrontation, feedback, it's an investment. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Moira, thank you so much. Go ahead.
You're so welcome. No, that's all.
So good. That is it for this episode. Oh my goodness. Thank you again to all of my friends. Thank you for listening. We would absolutely love to know your favorite part. It would like make all of our days. So don't hesitate to reach out, to comment, let us know your favorite part. But seriously, y'all, doing this podcast has been so fun. It has been so meaningful. And the fact that anybody listened and was here, it just makes me feel so seen in the work that I'm doing in the world. So thank you for being here, for yourself, for for me, for making me feel seen, and for the world, because by you learning this stuff, you are helping make our world a bit less lonely and more connected. So thank you so much.